This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So what we actually discussed, Saturday 2 hours, Sunday 2 hours. So that means weekly 4 hours we can say, right? So that is nothing but weekly 4 hours. So either which, if you want to go with like 2.5 hour, 2.5 hour also fine. But generally, okay, I'm getting a lot of background noise, so I'm just muting you. And if you have any questions, then unmute. Yeah, okay. So basically, we know that it takes generally what total 20 hours. So 20 hours means generally like 5 weekends required. Sometimes if you go like 2.5 hours like that, then we can also complete in max 4 weekends. Okay. So 4 weekends we will plan. Generally 5 weekends required, but sometimes we'll go with some extra additional hours like that. We'll complete in 4 weekends. So this is the timings related thing. Okay. So the timings we discussed 2 p.m. to 4 or 4:30 like that we'll plan depending on the session. And then coming back to this Groovy, so I hope you already checked what the content I'm covering it. So do you have already Groovy in your systems? Did you install or you are already using?
Yes, we do have a Groovy installed.
Okay. So and Java as well, right?
Yes.
Because this Groovy, it runs on JVM. So actually JVM also required. So then, okay, if already there, then no problem. You can check what version you are using. So just check, okay, let me go to first my present working directory. So this is my present working directory. So you can just check Groovy hyphen version. You'll get the version, which version of Groovy you are using. And also you can see the JVM version as well. So which version you are using now? Is it 3 version or 2 version?
1 second. 3 point version.
Yeah. So anything is fine actually. So even 2 version or 3 version, no problem. Okay. So fine. Okay. So coming back to here. So what is the generally advantage with this Groovy language? I'm just giving overview what I'm going to cover the coming days. So that's just an overview on the content I'm going to provide now. So basically Groovy, it comes under scripting language. So there are some scripting languages and there are some programming languages, right? So we have a scripting languages as well as programming languages we have. But one question here, on what basis we can say the language is a scripting language or programming language? For example, if you see C language or C++ or we have a Java or we have a .NET, right? .NET. So any idea, see, any idea on what basis we can say this is a programming? Why not it's a scripting? Is there any specific reason for that?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so which platform actually you are in now? So where exactly you are using Groovy, Banu and Shaul Ahmed?
Babu, actually, we are from support application support background.
Okay.
We are new to this scripting. We are new to this scripting language.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time we are starting this kind of course.
Okay. So
We
any other
want to,
means supporting which operating system you are using?
Linux.
Okay. So the Groovy also you are writing in the Linux as well?
No, we installed Eclipse and we're working on it.
So means ID you are using fine, but which operating system you are using that in Windows or
Mac
Android?
OS. Mac OS.
Yeah,
In Mac.
I'm using Linux Mac OS. Shaul will be using Windows.
Mhm. But in the real-time environment, we are working mostly with Linux. Is that correct?
Yeah, Linux.
Okay. So,
And
hmm,
mostly this Groovy script used for Jenkins pipelines, not for any standalone applications.
using for what?
Only for Jenkins pipelines only.
Okay, you are using there.
Jenkins pipelines.
No, Bob. Actually, we want to move to DevOps. Okay. For this DevOps, we need Groovy scripting. This scripting is used in CI/CD pipeline
Yeah,
configurations.
correct. And CI/CD basically like see in the built-in release, Jenkins in combination with Groovy will be there generally.
Okay.
There is in the DevOps, we are using multiple languages. For example, I'm also from DevOps, but we are using different thing. We are using like we are working with some specific tools, right, Ansible and all.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Python and ML there. So it depending on what exactly. See, the DevOps it's combination of multiple things. It comes with build and release and configuration related tools, right, and administration related stuff and all required. So generally with the combination Groovy, so with combination of Jenkins, we use Groovy. But Groovy not only there, like there are multiple people using. So people are using from SAP some specific flavors and Jira tools also. Jira administration environment again people are using.
Okay.
So I'm actually muting you. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Yeah, I just muted you. See if we have any questions, unmute and we can talk. No problem. Because I'm recording the session, right? A lot of background noise is coming. So later if you watch, then you will get a lot of noise. Okay. So a number of platforms, again, the Groovy people are using in different platforms. But Jenkins is one thing which comes under DevOps generally. So I got your point, like you are going to implement in future DevOps, then you're going to, write these scripts, right? Fine. But do you have any programming skill or scripting skill? Programming or
Yeah.
scripting?
Yes. On scripting, I have shell script knowledge, but on the programming side, no.
Okay. So shell scripting mostly in what area? You are using like OS administration level or any different thing?
For general support automation process, we write scripts. So
Okay,
that is where we use, yeah.
fine. Okay. So basically, even if you are good with shell scripting, that will be fine. I will, because why I'm asking, I will compare with that script, then I'll explain you. Then it will be very easy for you guys. Okay.
Yeah, that will be good.
Yeah. So mostly like shell script generally, the commands base and I will just take whatever the function. For example, how we are writing conditional statements there. And the same way, we will compare in the Groovy how we write it. Like that, I will compare every time. Okay. And see, I'll keep meeting. Actually, the problem is getting a lot of noise. So once, if you answered, then immediately go on mute. Then it will be good. Okay. I can see here Banu as well. Can you unmute and talk? We will see whether you are even from your side getting noise or not.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you. So I can hear you, but only thing I'm getting echo. Then fine, okay, no problem. But noise is not coming actually from your side. That is fine. So shell scripting. So I'll compare most of the things with shell scripting then. So the point here is, so why I'm asking this thing like whether it is a scripting language or programming language. So this is the basic thing, and we should understand exactly how Groovy is working. Because the reason, many people see generally. The first point I asked, you guys installed already Groovy, and also I immediately asked Java also installed or not. The reason Groovy actually it works on JVM, Java Virtual Machine. We will discuss that part later. But even if it is working on JVM, it's not a programming language, it's a scripting language. But what is that difference? So the difference is, for example, see, there are a lot of scripting languages. We have a shell, we have a Python, okay, we have a Perl and PowerShell like this. There are different scripting languages we have. So now Groovy also, it comes under scripting languages only. But the question here, on what basis we can say whether it is a scripting or programming? So since you know the shell scripting, it is very simple. So maybe you are writing bash scripts or KSS scripts. So bash means what? Born again shell, right? So on what basis we can say the bash is a scripting? It's a very simple, it's based on interpreter. So that means we can simply say is that if any language, right? If any language, if it works based on interpreter, and then we can say that is a scripting language. So if any language, if it works based on interpreter, then it's a scripting language. Now shell is working based on interpreter, Python based on interpreter, PowerShell based on interpreter, Groovy also based on interpreter. So it works based on interpreter, but we will understand internally how the Groovy interpreter is working. That we will discuss slowly. But just remember, this is an interpreter based language. That is why we are calling as a Groovy scripting language. But also you can check actually Python, Groovy, these are many people are actually saying even programming language. That means Python, Perl, Groovy, these languages are scripting languages as well as programming languages. There is a reason for that. First, we will discuss that, what is the reason and all later slowly. But just I define this since it's a interpreter based language, it comes under scripting language. But why actually people are calling these languages are actually scripting as well as programming, we'll discuss that. That is based on the behavior of that interpreter. So the interpreter basically what? Okay, so interpreter means it's a line by line execution. Okay, let me show you this. Since you are good in shell, I'll just compare this so that you'll simply understand now. So shell interpreter, if you check, that is pure scripting language. It runs line by line execution. So that means what? For example, if I write 2 lines of code shell scripting, here I'm writing it echo hello. It just executes that hello message. And then if I write something echo hello world. Now, okay, there are 2 lines of code. How shell interpreter is working now? It will take the first line and it will verify that code, and if there is no error, then immediately it will execute. And then later it will go to the next line, second line, and then it will check the syntax. If no error, then it executes. That means what? It's a line by line execution. So if we have a 10 lines, each and every line it will verify and it executes. Now for example, I'm just writing here hello, but not close this double quotes. Then it immediately what it will do, it will give you error message at the third line. But first 2 lines it executes successfully, right? So now for example, I'm just comparing it to understand. Okay, now if we check here, okay, now I'm writing vi some simple script1.sh. Now we can see echo hello all here, and then echo I'm writing hi. So there are 2 lines of code now, and I'm trying to execute these 2 lines here. And if I execute these 2 lines now, okay, now you can see cat script 1.sh. This is a script, and I'm executing with interpreter name. Now I can see the hello world and hi. But what I said, since it's a scripting, every time it will execute what line by line. So first line no error, second line no error, we got output. But I'm writing here something echo by, but double quotes I started but not closed it, right? So if I run this now, you can see the first line is successfully executed, but the second line also successfully executed, but there is a error in third line, and immediately we got a error message, which is a syntax error. But this is abnormal termination. That means what? For example, even if I write one more line here, okay, so I'm writing something hi bye, but there is no error in this line. But still, actually, what we will get an error. The reason is actually once the third line, means the third line having some syntax error. Once the syntax error occurred or any specific error occurred, it will terminate from that particular line. Even after that third line, even if we have a n number of lines with proper syntax, it won't execute. The reason is what? Until that third line, once if we clear, then only it will actually execute that remaining lines. So that is how here actually shell script, right? Shell is actually interpreter based, line by line execution. First line it executed, second line also it executed. But now, for example, see, I'm just giving just overview now. I'm writing one script, for example, script1.py or script2.py. This is a Python script. And then I'm writing print, the same thing, but I'm using print here, hello world. And then I'm writing here print, and then second line I'm writing hello. Okay, now there are 2 lines of code here, only 2 lines of code. And then I'm trying to execute this 2 lines script2.py. Now I can see no error output. We got output and it executed successfully. But now what I'm trying to do, I'm writing one simple error message here, which is a syntax error. I'm just writing just by, but not closing the double quotes. Simply without closing the double quotes, I closed that parenthesis and I'm trying to execute. Now we need to understand the differences. In shell, what we understood, first 2 lines, if there is no syntax error, it executed successfully. And third line, we observed that there is some syntax error, and then we understood that because of syntax error, it actually provided error message in the third line, that is in the shell script. But in Python, now if you observe, since there is some error at third line, which is a syntax error, the script itself not started execution. Okay, just remember this. Now we will go to the Groovy script, and also we will see how Groovy is executing, and then later we will again comes to the conclusion. So basically, see, in the Groovy, there are different ways we can write it. So I'm not going to start the session with one itself like Java style, but we can actually write like class statement and then we can execute it. But since it's a scripting, you can also execute the script directly using with what? Print. Okay, so you don't need to write class statement. You can simply use the println statement. Now see, I'm just saving one script here. I'm writing one simple script. So let me write session 1 underscore script. The Groovy script extension, you can use .groovy or .gy. Okay, generally we use .groovy extension like this, .groovy. And then the file should save with all types. Save as type should be all types. Otherwise, it will save the file like a .txt only. So I have saved this file now. You can see some differences here. So this is a Groovy file. It is showing like this Groovy file. And the other one is a text document. Basically, it comes with some logo. So since I have multiple interpreters now here installed, so might be the reason it is not coming. But generally, if you save the file already installed Groovy, then it will actually show some, the logo also for that Groovy. Okay, fine. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm simply using println. And then println is a print function in Groovy. And then I'm trying to print hello world here. We will understand now the differences between other programming and this scripting now. That is what I'm trying to explain. And then you can execute this Groovy. Interpreter name is Groovy. And the script name session1 underscore script dot groovy. Now you can see it will provide you the output here. So I got hello world output. So simple, nothing. See, I'm not using any class statement. I'm not using any module. I'm not using any import things. Okay, nothing. Any library, I'm not nothing using, but directly executed the script like a shell script. And the same way now, I'm also writing one more line and then one more line. So the second line now, for example, I'm just writing only hello. And the third line, I'm just writing hello, bye. Okay, so now again, I'm trying to execute. Now, if you check here, I got error message saying that there is a one error. This is the one we need to understand. Okay, so clearly saying that there is some error at the third line. So it is saying Groovy 3 unexpected input at the third line having some syntax error. So now we need to understand this point. Shell script, I have mentioned the same code, but it executed 2 lines. But Python not executed since there is an error actually third line, and Groovy also not executed. There is some error at the third line. So that means what? I said clearly Python and Groovy, it's like a scripting language as well as programming language. Scripting language is generally simple definition. I said if any language, if it works based on interpreter, that is a scripting language. And also we understood shell interpreter, how exactly it is behaving, because interpreter means what? Line by line execution. And the shell interpreter properly it is executing line by line. And if there is any error at third line, first 2 lines no error, it executed, and third line is giving some error message. But now Groovy is not like that. Groovy, what it will do, Groovy and Python, okay, what it will do, first it will compile the code. Now this part you need to understand, compiler based. So see, now I said if any language, if it works based on interpreter, that is a scripting. The same way, if any language, if it works based on compiler, then it is a programming language. So based on compiler, for example, if you see C language or C++, Java, these are compiler based languages. Then what is the compiler here? Compiler, for example, let's say one simple C code. For example, I'm writing one simple C code here, C language, hash include, and then stdio.h, standard input output header file. And then we write a int main function, and then we write a printf, and then what? For example, hello world I want to print, and then we put a semicolon here and close this. So means what? Minimum 4 lines or 3 lines code is mandatory to display one simple hello world, because the compiler, it understands this printf function based on the header file. So I provided this stdio, which is the input output header file. So printf is output function. This output function, it works if you write stdio.h. That is a header file and everything we defined there. But now what I want to do, if I want to print directly hello world, that is not possible. We must need to write these many lines. And then how compiler is working here? Compiler See, this one we need to understand. I have a 3 lines of code. What compiler will do? Compiler, it will take this all these 3 lines and then it will verify whether there is any syntax error or not. So no matter how many lines of code we have, whether it is a 3 lines, 30 lines, 300 lines, 3000 lines. First part is what compilation means. It will check all the line syntax errors. All the lines syntax errors. And if there is no error, then it will generate one exe file. Okay, it will generate what? One exe file. Now again here, if any procedure oriented languages, it will generate .exe file. So C is a procedure oriented. If anything object oriented languages, it will generate .class file. For example, Java, it will generate .class file. C++, it will generate .class file. We'll understand what is this actually. But what I said, first, okay, assume this is a C++ code. There are some lines here. And if you run this, first what it will do, it will check all the line syntax errors. If no syntax error, it will generate .class file. Now, procedure oriented C language exe file generated. Object oriented C++ Java .class file is generated. And what we understood, compiler, it is verifying all the line syntax errors. If no syntax error, it's generating this. But also we need to understand one more thing here. What is this exe file and .class file? Generally, system understands only mission language. That means what? We can say simply zeros and ones, right? So what this compiler is doing, it is converting that high-level programming to mission understandable language, system understandable language. So that means system understands only zeros and ones. As a human, we understand the like a high-level language, English language. But between that, there is one mediator, which is a compiler. It translates that high-level programming to system understandable language. But at the time of translating, what it is doing, it is verifying every time all the line syntax errors. If no syntax error, then only it is generating these files. And then later we have to execute this exe, and later we have to execute this .class file to get the output. So this is compiler. But what interpreter we understood? Line by line, it will directly take first line. If no error, it will execute. Second line, no error, it will execute. Third line having error, it will stop execution and it will terminate that. So there is a difference. But now coming to the Groovy interpreter, it's an interpreter, but it will compile first. What does that means? Compilation time. If there is any syntax error, see, there are two types of errors we have. One is a syntax error. The second one is a runtime error. Syntax error means that is a human error. Human error means what? Groovy says that, hey, already I provided syntaxes. Whenever if you are using println, if you want to write some string, you should write between quotes, single quote or double quote. That language already provided syntax. We should follow that. If you are not following, simply like, see, I'm writing only double quote started, but double quotes not end. And there is a problem. So what is this problem actually? Language says that I provided already syntax, but you are not following. This is a human error. We will get a syntax error. So syntax errors, our responsibility. This is a programmer responsibility. So we need to go and verify this and we need to fix that. But there is one more concept which is a runtime errors. Runtime errors we can handle using with exception handling concept. That we will see. But now what I said here, syntax errors. See, first it is checking all the line syntax errors. If there is no syntax error, then it will start execution line by line. If no syntax error, then it will start execution line by line. Now you can see the output here. It will provide you some output line by line actually. But also runtime errors we will discuss, where generally we will get and how to handle that slowly. So this is only reason we are calling this Groovy as a scripting as well as programming. Why programming language we are calling? Because first it is compiling the entire code. If there is no error, then only it is starting execution line by line. But shell is not like that. There is a lot of difference between shell interpreter and Groovy interpreter. And also, is it generating any exe file or .class file? Basically, no. See, now it is not generating any .class and any exe. That is what first it will compile and it will verify whether there is any syntax errors. If no syntax error, immediately it will start execution line by line. But if you want, we can also generate .class file. How to generate that, all the things we will see in the coming sessions, you will understand. So that means Groovy is a actually object-oriented programming language. So you can see the .class file, you can generate it. But again, it's a admin-related choice language. Groovy is admin-related choice language. All administration-related choice languages, for example, if you take Python or Perl or Groovy, so these languages are providing benefits for administrators. If you want to write something, for example, hello. So for this, actually, what you don't need to write anything inside the class statement. So it says that clearly, okay, if you want to write simple statements or if you want to automate only the OS level commands, then you can follow the procedure oriented style. Or you want to write some application development or something like you want to implement Grails, there is a framework. So there is a framework called Grails. You can see Groovy on Grails. So Grails is a framework, it's a MVC framework. There again we are using Groovy. So basically in that environment, MVC model view controller, we are using fully object oriented style code. That is generally what application development. So application development, more security, more reusability, more flexibility required. We go with everything object oriented style. But admin related, basically what, like is specific DevOps related and all, we don't need object oriented, we need output, that's it. So we can simply handle using with what directly procedure oriented style. So that is how these languages are flexible. If you want to write procedure oriented, yes, you can write it. Object oriented, yes, you can write it. Both it accept. But shell, it's a pure procedure oriented. There is no concept object oriented in shell script. But if you go with C++, it's a pure object oriented. You cannot write procedure oriented in C++. If you see the C language, it's a pure procedure oriented language. You cannot implement any object oriented principles. So these all the languages, programming languages, it's only for one specific, either procedure oriented or object oriented, but not both. But if you see the Groovy or Python, these are both. That means based on the requirement, based on what platform we are in, we can implement based on that. If it is required object oriented, then only we write it. Otherwise, we can simply use what? Directly normal procedure oriented concepts itself. Anyway, we are covering even object oriented here, but I'm just giving idea. Okay. So I hope you understood why Groovy is a scripting as well as programming. This is based on interpreter, but interpreter, how it is executing, first it is compiling and then later it is starting actually execution. That is why we are calling as a scripting as well as programming language. So any questions here in this now? Okay.
No, Bob. I'm good.
Okay. So now, so we understood what are the different types of programming languages we have and what are the different types of scripting languages we have. And also we understood that on what basis we are calling, whether it is a scripting language or programming language. We understood that interpreter and compiler things here. And then see, I told that Groovy is actually based on the requirement you can implement. Either if you want procedure oriented, yes, you can write it, or object oriented, we can write it. But if you are writing Java code, it's a pure pure object oriented. You cannot write procedure oriented in Java. But Groovy not like that. you can write procedure oriented, as well as object oriented. Groovy both. So that is what I just told, that if you want to run something, see how I'm running. I'm just running directly hello world using with what, println. But now see, for example, I'm also writing one class statement. For example, Groovy. Okay, I'll write like this: Groovy test. This is a object oriented. Now I'm just creating one class statement, class, then Groovy test, and inside that I'm writing now. So generally, if you are using this class statement, it looks like a Java style. Whenever if you are writing these class statements in Groovy, so we should actually write static void main. Okay, so I'm just writing static void main, and then here string args. But our code, just I'm giving like a Java style now. You can also write directly also, but we will discuss one by one. I'm just giving now like Java style, static void main. This is the main function, and then I'm using string args here, and then later I want to print some message here, system.out.println we provide. So if you're using system.out.println and then that statement, it will execute it. So anything you can write first two statements like this and then later println. But println actually what? It's combination with system.out.println, and then you can run that and it will execute the same hello world. You need to write minimum 3 lines. Otherwise you can directly write like a procedure oriented. So that's what I'm saying here. It will actually work like a procedure oriented as well as object oriented. So now I'm not going to confuse with object oriented at the initial sessions itself. First we will discuss with procedure oriented style, and then slowly we will move to the object oriented concepts. Okay, so the coming to this actually, so we will start with like this only basics. We'll try to understand how to write a Groovy script, and then how generally see I use Notepad++ itself. So you guys said already you are using Eclipse. You can use any IDE also. So we will see that both IDEs as well as normal text editors, how to use both we will discuss, and then we will start after this we will start operators concept. In the operators we will discuss the list of operators. We have arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, and we have assignment, shorthand assignment. So we'll discuss each and every operator with some examples, because these operators are mandatory for conditional statements and loops. So conditional statements, now this is the one actually, it is mostly like a same like shell script. Since you know shell script, I'm just comparing it. The same like shell script, we use simple if, and we have a if else, and we have a ladder if, and we have a nested if. Same thing. Okay, so we will see that syntaxes, how exactly we are writing, and also we will discuss some use cases using with these conditional statements and as well as loops, and also loop control statements. So this is, we can say, one part. One part means mostly basics. First we will try to understand how to write basics like a script, then operators, and then conditional statements. Loops means again while loop, for loop, these all the things we'll discuss one by one with examples. And after that we will move to the main concept. This is the core concept in Groovy, variables. Here also we should know the variable, generally how to define variable. I will just touch with that, how to define variable first, and then later we will complete conditional statements, loops, loop control statements. Then again we will go to the deep dive variables concept. So the deep dive here, we will actually discuss what are the different types of variables. So we have a numbers. Numbers means basically integer values and float values like that. So one advantage here in the Groovy, since it's a scripting language, data types not required. Dynamic data type we can say. Dynamic data type means you can directly define a variable name equal to value. But also, if you want, especially the variable type is something I want to define only as an int, that is also possible. But without using that data type, directly if you are defining variable also it accepts. But programming languages, data type is mandatory. If you are defining something, data type is mandatory. But here you can directly define variable name equal to value. So the same way we do have a strings concept. We'll discuss what is the differences between single quoted string, double quoted string, and we'll discuss quoting rules, and we'll discuss, is there any interpolation concept available or not in the Groovy language. These are the things here. And then later we will go to the arrays concept. Now here is the thing actually, arrays in programming, collection of similar data. But here we will see, is it similar data or is there any way to write multiple data, means collection of combination of integer, float and string combination. And then how to define that, how to access the values, how to replace the values, how to insert the values, how to append the values, how to delete the values. This is arrays actually, a lot of things we have. So we will discuss one by one with simple example to some best use cases. We'll discuss those so that you'll understand. And then we have a concept called map. So map is nothing but another languages we call it as a hash, and in Python we call it as a dictionary. What is the purpose of this? For example, see, if I am taking array means collection of data, multiple values. But some specific reason, assume I want to take something like a key value pair. For example, employee number is there. Based on employee number, I want to print employee name. Or vehicle number. Vehicle number, based on vehicle number, I want to print owner name and address. Based on mobile number, I want to see the mobile owner name. If you observe here, employee number, mobile number, vehicle number, these are unique. And this unique keys we are using to get the value. So basically keys are unique. Based on the key, we can get the value. That means this is a key value base. We call it as an associative array. This is also arrays only, but associative means key and value pair. But if we check arrays concept, this is indexed based array. Indexed array. That means we are going to access the values based on the index 0 to infinite. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between this. And whenever if you want to get the JSON files, JSON file basically, maybe you're aware of JSON data, always it will be in a key value pair. XML, it will be generally key value style. So that data, if you want to read with Groovy, first you need to convert into dictionary. That means in the map format, then we can actually get the data from the map. We will see that practically. So that is what this concept actually here we will discuss. And after that, we can say some advanced level file handling concept. What is this file handling? So for example, I have some text file. I want to read the data using with Groovy. How to read the data or how to write data to the file. How to append data to the file. So if you check here, I executed script, I got output here. But I don't want to print this output on the command prompt. I want to redirect the data to the file. How to redirect data. So this file handling, we will discuss that. And then we have a regular expressions, which is more important concept. So regular expressions basically want to search and display the data. We can say which is a pattern matching. text manipulation, and also we can also search and display, search and replace the data. I have a file. We understood how to open the file using with file handling, but I don't want to display the complete file data. I want to match only particular string. There are a lot of things here in the regular expressions, and one advantage is, since you are from Linux, you know already grep command, sed command are commands, right? It will really help here in the regular expression. But grep not the basic level I'm saying. If you're really aware of advanced level grep, so means using with wildcard characters. If you are good with wildcard characters and meta characters and anchors and identifiers, so we are going to cover all the wildcard behaviors, meta characters, anchors behavior. Now, two things. Already, if you are good, then it will be easy here. And if you are not aware of these wildcards, if you learn here, you can implement in even grep scd commands in the Linux. So that means what? See, I said operators, arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators, for example, plus. Plus is we are using for addition. No matter what language we are using, whether you are working with Groovy or C++ or Python or shell script, the plus will be what? Mathematical related operator, addition only. The only reason is these operators already designed by someone, mathematical people, and every language is following. The same way, regular expressions also, it already implemented, it designed by someone, regular expression, regex concept, and every language is utilizing that. That means if you are using some operator and if the behavior is something in the shell scripting, and the same behavior will be there in Groovy and same behavior will be there in Python. So this part is more important if you want to search something. Even Jenkins, most of the times we use regex actually to search from text from some specific files. So this will help. Okay, so we will see some use cases, how to work with regular expressions, how to search the data, how to search and replace the data, these are the things. And then later we will move to the functions concept. Again, functions in shell generally less we use, but in Groovy we have a lot of things need to understand. So basically there are built-in functions. Built-in functions, it comes with a language. For example, I used println. Println is a built-in function. The same way we will see what are the built-in functions available. And then we will discuss user-defined function. That means how to develop our own function. The functions, the main purpose is reusability. I don't want to write the same code repeated times. Then how? We need to know how to define a function and how to call that function. And the same way, modules also we have. For example, function in general, limitation is there. Limitation means, for example, if I write a one function in one particular script, you can access that function n number of times, but only in that particular script. But if you want to access the same function in another script, it should be a through module. So we will see that how to work with module, how to develop our own module, and also is there any third-party modules, how to verify that, is there any built-in modules, how to verify that, and how to use these modules. This is more important concept again. And then we have a exception handling concept. I said exception handling is more important while writing the scripts. The reason, if you are getting any syntax error, that is our responsibility. There are two types of errors in general. One is a syntax error and second one is runtime error. Syntax error, our responsibility. If you get any syntax error As a programmer, we should verify that. There is no option. But runtime errors, that means what? See, I explained already clearly. Syntax error means what? If there is any syntax error, it won't start execution at all. First, it will check all the line syntax errors. Now assume there is no syntax error and it will start execution, but somewhere there is a runtime error. So runtime error means, for example, assume I am giving something 10 division of 0. That is not syntax error, but it's not possible. With 0 division by 0, it's not possible. That is one error. So these type of errors, how to handle? We write exception handling concept. So we'll discuss that exception handling concept here. And after that, we have a concept called command line arguments. So command line arguments are, we call it as a positional parameters. So this is something at the time of script execution. Okay, at the time of execution, I want to take values here itself. That means I'm executing this and I want to provide values as an input here. So these arguments, we call it as a command line arguments. So at the time of execution, with the script name, space, the values, there may be different reasons. For example, assume I just want to connect one specific server and then I want to run some command. So if you are giving the server name and password, everything in the script itself, that will be static and that script only works for that specific one server. But I don't want to define any server name now in the script. I'm just defining just a variable name, something server name equal to, and then password equal to, and then command. So at the time of execution, we decide what server name we need to provide. So that will be a first argument, second argument will be a password, something like that. So we will discuss that again, how to write these command line arguments and what is the importance of that. So this all actually, it comes under procedure oriented concepts. And then later, once it is completed, we will go to the object oriented. So here we will discuss in detail again the comparison between Java and Groovy. So even if it is run on JVM, but what is the importance of that? What is the differences between Java and this, Groovy? Where exactly it got success comparing with Java, and then implementation, the two different things, how we are doing it. So you will understand that here, and we will discuss what is encapsulation, and what is inheritance, and what is polymorphism, and what is abstraction. So we'll discuss one by one. So encapsulation. So I want to group the related data members along with its related functionality, because more secured, more scalable. So this is required generally whenever if you are writing some application level, but we will see some small example, some small use case. I'll take some bank related, some small application related, and I'll explain it. Inheritance is nothing but getting the properties from parent class to child class. That means if I have one parent and all the properties I want to use from parent to child, how to use that. And polymorphism, basically we have a different concepts again here, which is a method overloading and overriding concept. So we'll see the differences, what is overloading and overriding, and which one is possible in the Groovy, and how to write that and how to implement it. Abstraction is nothing but hiding some data. I don't want to access the data outside the class. How to hide that? So these all the things actually it comes under object oriented. So this total generally, as I said, it takes 20 hours to complete. Okay. So this is the core content we are going to discuss, and see there are multiple things also. For example, in Groovy, most of the interviews people ask like this: is there any possibility like a one-liner? One-liner means I want to directly execute the code instead of writing in the IDE or instead of writing in the Notepad++. Is there any possibility? Yes, we can run the script directly. Means we can directly write one-liner code in the command prompt itself. But how to write that? Any idea? Do you have any idea about that?
No.
Okay. So in interviews, generally, we will get this type of questions. I want to print hello, but can we get that hello message directly in the command prompt? Yes. So that is one-liners. One-liners is possible. Now, for example, see, I'm just writing one simple thing. You can simply use Groovy -e. Okay. And then what is the function println? What do you want to print? I want to print hello or hello world. But whenever if you are writing like this, since I am writing between a double quotes, it's recommended to go with single quotes here to print this. Otherwise, we can also use separators. That we will see separators concept, but I'm just trying to execute this. Now you can see that output here, hello world, it is printing. But am I using any text file? No. Am I using any IDE? No. But still actually what? You can execute this. And the same way, we do have an interactive mode. See, there are two things. One is a script mode and there is an interactive mode. So interactive mode means you can directly go to the interactive mode and you can execute the code. So we will see that how to go interactive mode and how to execute the code and what is the importance of that. These are all the things we will discuss. So the reason, see, I want to run something immediately. See, now I just executed Groovy SH and it came to the interactive mode. For example, assume I'm just running something 10 plus 20. I got output 30. But to write this in the script, if you want to verify what is 10 plus 20, and if you want to go and open IDE, to opening IDE itself, it takes 2 minutes. Or if you want to write in the text file, need to save the file with the .groovy and then open that path and then multiple things need to execute the code. But what this Groovy is saying, okay, if you are doing something small, I know exercises, but again for only one time output, I means I want to see what is the output. That's it. I don't want to save this and I don't want to execute in future, nothing. But I just want to test immediately something, and then you can go to the interactive mode and you can run it. It will execute. Okay, so these all the things actually we will discuss. So this is the content and I hope clear. So any questions here now? Banu.
No, boss.
So with this, you will also get the daily recordings. Okay, once the session is completed, I'll share this recording also. And also I'll share the notes. And also I will give you assignments, but not first session itself. Assignments means first we need to, at least basics should complete. Then I will share you some assignments. The notes you will get, and then some documents assignments related you'll get. So that's all from my end. So the link will be same. Okay, next week Saturday 2 p.m. we will start, and 2 hours we'll plan it, and Sunday also 2 hours. Okay, so we'll start today and we'll continue in the next Saturday. Any questions now? Anything?
Okay, Master.
So the same link will meet Saturday 2 p.m. Thank you then. Have a nice day.
Babu, hello.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Please make sure to continue every week because
We will continue. No, I understood. Yeah. So there was some gap actually, but no problem. We will continue. I'll complete it. Maximum 4 to 5 weekends I'll complete.
already we are waiting from 1.5 months.
Correct. So we will complete it. The reason is actually, see, the weekend, some other batches, Python batches also there. Then I started. Now everything fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4. By December first week or second week we will complete.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. So there is no problem. See, once if we start, it will. See, we still not started, right? So once if we start, then it will continue. There is no problem on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you then. Have a nice
Okay.
night.
See you next week.